How did this quirky teenager become the beast billionaire that took over the internet? Check out this video.
I'm about to count to 100,000. You don't believe me? Just watch this video. All I want to say is just tweet the video out, share it with, maybe Keem or Scarce. And if you're a YouTuber, just help a guy out. I mean, think of the pain I'm about to get. Screw it. Let's 1, 2.
Poor quality, not a great light source, kind of a slow following. What the heck's going on? Nothing crazy about this. What is it about this guy that made him pop off? How did he become so successful? This is Many Faces of the Internet. He's one of them, one of the most very well known. This isn't your standard podcast. It's not going to be me interviewing anybody. MrBeast isn't here. Stay though. But I've done a deep dive. I've watched 40 hours of videos and studied books about him and every article that's mentioned him. He's really open about his approach, but his approach from age 21 to 26 is kind of boring because he was a millionaire then. So he's spending millions of dollars on his videos. If I had $1 million I could spend on this podcast to promote it, it would pop. I'm telling you. But the point is, what I really want to know is from age 11 to age 20, give or take, because that's when he skyrockets. But it's that kind of slow build that's interesting. And it was fun to research him. So his current status right now, as the time of this research at least, his main YouTube channel, and he has many YouTube channels, has 308 million subscribers. In his TikTok, 103.6 million followers. He doesn't even try on TikTok, and he has 103 million followers. Same with Instagram. He doesn't even try, and he's got 60 million followers. He's worth somewhere between 600 million to $1 billion. Holy moly. What is it about these outliers? There's the Malcolm Gladwell book, Outliers, about spending 10,000 hours doing something. He's been quoted saying he's spent, 100,000 hours doing YouTube at this point because he's obsessed about it. And that's one of his big qualities. The breakout moments. One of his first ones that I think he learned the most from was he counted to 100,000. 1, 2, 3, all the way to 100,000. And he learned people like extreme acts. They like to see people. It's like the circus. You like to see the guy with 3 ears. Something about it works. So then he did more of those and he just kept going. By the way, that video was when he was 19. He started YouTube when he was 11. The 100,000 video, counting to 100,000 when he was 19. So that means he did 8 years of BS. Had really little success for 8 years, but kept going. That's for those people out there struggling now. So that's what we're going to dive into. I'll get into a few demographics because I think it's worth it. From what I found, he was born May 7th, 1998 in Wichita, Kansas, was mostly grown and raised in North Carolina, Greenville, North Carolina. He went to a Christian school. He has one older brother. There's not much information about his father out there. His father and mother are divorced. His mother was pivotal in his life and still is. They work together. She works in the back office in his business now. So she's still very instrumental and always was, it seems. He dropped out of college, out of community college. Stay in school. This isn't a video to tell you to drop out of school, but he did drop out. And I think his mother became pivotal in that because she kind of gave him the ultimatum, listen, go to college or move out of the house. So he went to college at that point until he could become successful enough on YouTube to support himself. And he gives that moment a lot of credit for that. Now, I'm going to do this dive into what made him an outlier. You know why he's worth $1 billion. He's worth $1 billion because he has hundreds of millions of followers. But what made him an outlier? What made him get 300 million followers? He was hyper obsessive. So when he got something in his head, he went after it. He pounded after it. Doing the research on him, I have some similarities to MrBeast, and this was one of them. When I was about to make this podcast, I told my wife, hey, I think I'm going to do a podcast. She said, oh, you've been. I mean, okay, fine, but you have to set some time to work on it. You can't just become obsessed about it and do it all day, all night. And so I have that. It's one of my biggest weaknesses and biggest strengths at the same time. I would be willing to bet he'd say the same thing. Originality. So he doesn't just follow the pack. He's created his own style. He even avoids watching other YouTube artists because he doesn't want to become tainted by their style. Now, he's quite introverted. He's quoted saying he likes to talk to a camera more than other people. I see that with a lot of these really successful creators in person, talking to them one-on-one, they don't make eye contact. They're a little more shy or introverted, but talking to the camera, they're boom, they're outgoing, they're flamboyant. So it's an interesting thing I see amongst other great creators. Super competitive. He wants to be number one. You'll hear him say that over and over. His goal is to be the number one YouTuber ever. He's accomplished that, which I get into later. Some of his other avenues, I think he started these other avenues because he can't stand being number one. He wants the competitiveness to compete with people. He's a goal setter. When his mom made him go to college, he set a goal. I want to make enough money on YouTube to be independent. And he did it. He got to the point he was making $1,000 a month. $12,000 a year, by the way, which in Greenville, North Carolina is enough money to live. He did it. He set the goal. He did it. He moved forward. He manifested that. He has this addictive personality. He was quoted talking about hiding his video games because if they were out, he would go play with them right away. So he couldn't even see it or he would jump to it. So that's another common thing you see about really elite people who are outliers. The authenticity. I promote this to anybody who wants to learn and have fun on these or grow on these platforms. You know, authenticity pays off. I think his channel really is him. You can see kind of that quirkiness that he has in his channel. And I think that's a large part of the reason he's been so successful. So that kind of goofy authenticity. Now I'm going to go into the beginning, the groundwork, year by year of his life, starting at age 11, essentially, to how he did it, how he built this. You know, his first video that he gives reference to being viral, he did a gaming video called Battle Pirates that got like 20,000 views. He didn't gain a lot of followers from it or subscribers, but he got 20,000 views. And that's when he was like, man, I kind of like this. This is interesting. There's a dopamine rush to getting those views and likes and comments that any creator has seen. At age 13, one of his buddies found all his videos and then he hurried up and deleted them because they were making fun of him. So all of his videos from age 11 to age 13, you can't find them. Then, you know, I talked about his addictive personality. He had this little dip in his early YouTube career where he was like, man, I don't know, maybe YouTube's not going to work, which you can imagine after 3-5 years of doing it. If you're not rich, you know, you get short-sighted. He got really obsessed with baseball. So he's like, man, I'm going to make the MLB. I'm going to become a baseball player. He did baseball every day, practiced every day, told everybody he was going to be a baseball player. He got diagnosed with Crohn's disease, which is an inflammatory bowel disease, can really be disruptive to one's life, particularly if you're trying to do athletics. So he credits that to kind of putting him back into YouTube. From age 16 to 17, he did that kind of slow grind, posted videos, learned, was getting a little bite here and there. There's a video of him when he was 17 years old, posted a video saying, okay, I'm committing to posting one video a day for 3 months, and then I'm going to analyze it and see if I'm going up, staying flat, or going down. If I'm flat or going down, I'm quitting YouTube. He made that. He set that goal, and he made some KPIs. He said, I better be better after these 3 months or I'm quitting. Obviously, he was better. You know, some of his early content, actually, he spun a fidget for an entire day. Spun a fidget for an entire day. It's crazy. And then he went through and cut that in and turned it into a 10-minute video. He videoed his entire day of that process and even after, and then put together a video. He really put the effort. He has some really good insight. He has that kind of storytelling, filmmaking quality in his brain. Read the entire dictionary. Apron, apple, apartment. Just read the entire thing nonstop. And people reacted. He kind of learned that, man, this bizarre quality that he has, it's working. So he kept going with it. He ran a marathon in size 40 shoes. The video is hilarious. He has like blisters on his feet. It's these clown looking shoes, you know, enormous. And him and his buddy ran a marathon wearing those shoes. I mean, that's outrageous. Nobody else was doing it at that time. So it's that outside of the box creative thinking that I think really did it for him. That's what really got him going. And then he obsessed about the algorithm. This was the early phases of YouTube, and he learned like, man, what is it? All of these sites now, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, they all have really good analytics. You can learn the moment people drop off. So he would study the first 6 seconds and say, man, I lost 40% of my viewers in the first 6 seconds. I got to improve on the first 6 seconds. Then he did that. Then he was like, man, now they're dropping off at 3-minute mark. How do I cliffhang them to the 3-minute mark? I'll talk about it later, but he says he found what he loved at a really young age, and then he kept doing it. I'm a big proponent of this as well. I say, find what you love and do more of it. Get better at it, do more. And then you're doing what you're great at. And that's the goal. I think he found that at a young age. At age 16, he had 8,000 subs on YouTube, which was, you know, decent at that time. He posted a video, said, hi, me in 5 years. Hi, me in 10 years. Hi, me in 15 years. Only the 5-year one has been released because he's not 10 years after that point yet. He's 26 now. I think it comes out this October. His 5-year prediction was pretty on point. His breakthrough, his first brand deal. And he wasn't rich yet. He wasn't that popular. At age 19, he had 100,000 subs. Quid, they're called. They're a virtual trading card app. And they said, okay, hey, we'll give you $5,000 to do a video for us. You got 100,000 subs. You're into our mix. Let's see what happens. He said, you know what? Give me 10 grand. I'll do it, but I'm giving it all away to a homeless person. They said, no, dude, that doesn't make any sense. Trust me, I'm doing it. They did it. He gave it away. Bam, that's what got him rolling. And he focuses on the viewers, which I think is key. That cycle of growth. Then his next sponsorship, they gave him 20 grand. He said, okay, you know what? Let me split this among 20 different homeless people. He read his comments and they said, man, why don't you give it to more people, smaller amounts? Boom, he did it. He listened to his people, he studied, he did more. There's some videos of him giving pizza delivery people $500. They cry and hug him. I mean, that is a powerful moment. You know, really, after the age of 20, I would say it becomes boring because now his videos, they're good, don't get me wrong, but you kind of know what to expect. It's going to be over the top. There are these huge sets. There's millions of dollars involved. And I think from my perspective, I can't commit that kind of time and money. So it's the earlier advice I think is the most powerful and most interesting to me. To be authentic, to think outside of the box, to be creative. And he has a really good quote, which I love. He says, nobody can be a better MrBeast than me, so don't try. But at the same point, nobody can be a better you than you, so take advantage of that. Find what's your goods, find what's unique about you, and go after it. Double down over and over, learn, grow, post, learn, post, learn. So at age 20, he had 1 million subscribers. That was right when he hired a manager. I don't know if I'm saying this guy's last name properly. I'm probably not. Reed Ducher from Night Media. He had 1.6 million followers when he hired him. And then 1 year later had 13.6 million followers. So that was really when he started doing this upward trajectory. So I think he very likely deserves some credit for that. And by the way, that became one of his main strategies. Jimmy Donaldson, MrBeast, he reinvested every dollar he made back into the videos. I think that was a powerful approach. It was a balls out approach. A lot of people take that money, put it in an IRA, grow a little bit, maybe invest half. I'm sure his mother and people were advising him that. And he just said, no, I want to do it this way. So I think, trusting your gut, it's another thing that many powerful people say. But a key thing, I think he did a really good job during COVID. He was 22 years old. He was becoming popular. This is the 10, 15, 20 million subscriber phase. And he really twisted towards the philanthropic approach, which was smart. He has this saving the oceans where he's created a machine to clean the ocean. He's planting, I think, 1 million trees or something. Most recently, he signed a deal with Amazon, $100 million deal with Amazon to do a streaming platform with them. So that's probably, now he's just branching out into everything. So the Feastables, he's starting this candy bar. He wants to have a healthy candy bar, probably something that tied to his Crohn's disease, without all these additives. Now on the candy bar creation world, he's small. There's Hershey's, there's whatever, all these other companies. So it's just something for him to be competitive with. He wants to dominate the candy bar world now. He's already number one YouTube. It's becoming boring. I sympathize him with that a little bit. I'm the best plastic surgeon in the world. I really believe that. For the jawline, I am the best. And I'm toying with that, I think this podcast is kind of my beast burger. It's like, I've kind of made it as a plastic surgeon. I'm going to keep doing it. I love to operate. I love making people hot. That's my day job, but I need something else to kind of stimulate me. I need to compete. Okay, so key takeaways from MrBeast at age 26, like the most recent content I've read and listened to him about, the continuous learning and evolution. So I think all great creators, this doesn't only go with content creation. This is like inventors and everything. You learn from what you do and you take it into account when you get to your next level. So he does that really well. He has a mastermind group he talks about. He finds these great creators and they go rent a cabin and they just pick each other's brain and they all learn from each other. I think that's really key to keep growing, keep learning, evolving, creating. You got to kind of recreate yourself at certain time points. And he does that really well. The uniqueness and the authenticity. If you want to be good, then you can copycat people. If you want to be great and outstanding and an outlier, you got to create your own path. And I think that's a key point, and he did that well. Now, truly content creation and growth strategy, new age MrBeast info, action-oriented. So, he encourages new creators. You need to create 100 videos and learn from every one of them. And learn from the previous before you go to the next. So I think, we have a fellow, a facial plastics fellow every year. And I tell him that. I say, listen, your job when you finish all of your training, we do 20 years of training before we really get to operate on people. You need to make your first 100 patients give you a 5-star Google review. So that means if you got to go to their house and mow their lawn, you do it. That's how you get off the ground. So similarly, if you're trying to content create, boom, 100 videos, but learn from every and each one, and then you're 100 videos smarter by the next phase. So I think I got to do some introspection. I got to look at my videos and figure out what's working for me, personally. So that's something I took from him. Audience focus, for me, my plastic surgery career, I make the greatest jawline ever. That's my thing. And then everything else is followed. That's how I built my practice. Boom. Making good jawlines, making good jawlines. People ask me, all I do is make good jawlines. And then everything else is just followed behind it. So he did similar. He made videos that people wanted to watch, and then the success followed. That obsessive focus. He wants to be number one. He wants to be number one. He wants to be number one. I'm the same. I want to make the best jawline in the world. I want to make the best jawline in the world. Now I think I do it. You know, he's doing something I thought was really cool. Hablo español, muy bien, también. He had somebody redub all of his videos in almost every language. So he hired the actor who dubbed Spider-Man into Spanish to dub his videos. So it's really cool because you would recognize that voice. Like if you watch videos in Spanish that are, you know, English original videos, and you recognize the common creators, the common dub people. So I thought that was genius. And some of his dub channels have as many followers as his English channels. It's bizarre. But that's just something nobody else kind of thought of to take advantage of. All right. Now get your glass of wine or your coffee or your tea. We're about to get to the drama. I'm not going to get into it too much, but I'm going to kind of do a little deep dive. In 1997, before MrBeast was born, a wise man once said, "Mo money, mo problems." And I think a little bit of the drama is that he's famous now. People are trying to take advantage of that scenario and talk about him and chatter about him. And, you know, bad stuff is hot. So if you say bad stuff about MrBeast, people are going to watch it. That's interesting. The thing about his philanthropy. So his videos are about giving a homeless guy $10,000, but he's making more than $10,000 on that video. But more importantly, does it matter? That guy has $10,000 more dollars. He bought 1,000 people paid for their cataract surgery. So I think, you know, you got to step back and look at it. I think he's a hard worker. I think the people he helps are thankful, and you got to take that for what it is. Do you really care if he did it for the right reason? I personally think he does, or at least he started wanting to do it for that reason. I mean, he does seem like a good person that wanted to help people, and then he can help more people the more money he makes. I do this. I work with a nonprofit program, Break the Silence Foundation, that helps people with domestic violence, and I fix their face for free. Now, I do that because it makes me feel good. It also, you know, they market me. People know I do it. People like me because I do it. So, you know, I don't want to take away from what I do. I don't want to take away from what he does. The key is, does it matter the fact that he's doing that philanthropy, making more money and making people happy, even if he doesn't want to only make people happy? So I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments. Let's start a fight about it. Let's get the trolls out. I think it's interesting. Of all of his controversies, that's the one that I think is the easiest for him. The real controversies, the new ones, the hot ones, you guys probably know more about it than me, because I think you're even more involved in this creator field than I am. There's some employee scandals. One of his OGs, one of his really early, you know, people who was with him is being accused allegedly of having some inappropriate relationships. I'm not going to expand on it. You can do your Reddit deep dive. Now, he's had to publicly essentially disown that person, who I think was a longtime confidant. So I'm sure that's been difficult for him. I'm sure it's difficult for everybody. I think it's part of being famous, man. Now you got to play the game. But I don't know that I'd really want everything I ever said from the age 11 to 20 on the internet. And a lot of what he said from 11 to 20 is recorded and on the internet. So I'm sure most of us would get in trouble if at one point from something we've said. Take that for what it's worth. Personally, I think he's dealt with it decent. You know, with a non-traditional approach, there's going to be hiccups. I think he's realizing some of those. I'm sure he would do things differently, knowing how much trouble he's getting into. I'm sure it's costing him millions of dollars to defend and have lawyers and everybody involved. It's not easy, right? There's been some people critiquing his style of doing these big events. The Squid Game one, people got injured and weren't being fed and they had to go to the hospital. And some of his employees have created videos about how he doesn't care and all he cares about is views. It's inevitable, I think, with great success that you're gonna have people come out against you. So, you know, I'm gonna go into it. It's a good segue, maybe. You know, I have these questions. I actually did submit them to MrBeast to ask him. I used TikTok because I'm verified on TikTok. I thought that might get me there, but he didn't answer them. So I feel like I know him now, honestly. I've watched 50 hours of video. I've studied everything there is about him. So I'm going to answer these questions like I think he would answer them. Would he do it all again? He's 26 years old. You know, I said yes, but then particularly now with the controversies, I'm sure he's thinking about those days he was making videos in his mom's, you know, basement, how it used to be easier and how becoming so popular has complicated things. It seemed to me that he was probably happiest age 20 to 23, when he was big and getting popular and getting the feedback and having fun. And I think now, one, he's kind of made it. So it's like, what do I do?Maybe he'll go behind the scenes and become a chocolate maker. I mean, we'll see. The time will tell. So when did he get a manager, a PR team? I include this one because it's interesting. Like, at what point do you get 5,000 followers? And it's like, okay, I need a manager. Do you get 100,000? He did it when he had 1.6 million subscribers. So he did a lot of the grind by himself. Bella Porch, for instance, got a manager quicker. But she was also a little bit of a different trajectory. So his hours a week, how many hours a week does he work? Definitely more than 60 hours a week. I think part of the problem with that, he's made himself so pivotal and the bottleneck of the company so involved that he has to do the work. The problem can be now anything that goes wrong, it's your neck. So there's not these layers built into his business where you can say, oh, well, that's not me. I wasn't involved, because he's kind of involved in everything. So it's another thing. Maybe he would second guess, but maybe he wouldn't be as successful if he second guessed it. So what is his motivation? I do think at least his first 20 years was to make good content, make videos that people were going to watch, and let everything else flow from there. So I think he's still about that. It's maybe evolving. And then again, nowadays with the controversies, maybe he would answer that differently. But his advice to people that want to be like him: reinvest in yourself. Post, learn, post, learn. I mean, my answer to anybody that wants, I have a lot of surgeons, a lot of medical people reaching out to me like, how do I do that? How do I do that? So I say, man, it's post, post, post. 2 posts a day, 3 posts a day. Gary V, he's a guy, man, you got to post, you got to get it out there. It's just that effort, getting it out there, learning, don't let up, do it over and over and learn from yourself. All right, I started this to try to learn what made MrBeast an outlier. And these are my quick 4 things that I really think are what has made him an outlier. Number 1, I think it's this hyper obsessive personality, this hyper obsession he had with YouTube, and he ran with it. He couldn't get rid of it, and he just kept going. I think that's probably number 1. He's an independent, creative thinker, quirky, on the spectrum, however you want to phrase it. He's got that little bit of something different from a lot of people. That's number 2. Number 3, driven, extremely motivated. So kind of goes to the hyper obsession, but the goal setting driven quality, I think, has probably been what's made the difference from just being obsessive to being successful. So he was not only obsessive about YouTube, he was driven to make it successful, and learned and studied and looked at the data. And he's a really intelligent guy from a mathematical, from an analytical, from a data-driven perspective. It's impressive what he's done. I think he's taught himself a lot. Hyper competitive. So bam, I want to be the number 1 YouTuber. Bam, I want to beat Hershey's. And then number 5, which probably is really what made many of these outliers, find what you love and do more of it. He's super successful at age 26. Because he found what he loved when he was 11. Many of us don't. Maybe I'm going to be a podcaster for the rest of my life. I'm old, but I found what I love surgically, and I do more of it. I love it. Now I'm the best. I really am the best. And I think that's his key thing, that he found what he loved, he did more of it, and he kept going. So, I mentioned it earlier. He definitely falls into the bucket of a grinder. By that, I mean, boom, post, learn, post, learn, post, learn. There wasn't really anything you could say that's what made his career. Where Bella Porch, for instance, we could say that post made her career. She took advantage. She did a good job. She's talented. She's great. But he is a grinder. I would file him under the grinder catalog. So there's luck, grinder. There's another one I'm going to do. My next episode actually is on somebody who was well known before. So I would put him under the bucket. Like, I actually found her as a creator. When I did my deep dive, she was famous before she became a creator. I think the creator world has really spiderwebbed her out there, but it was her fame that made her such a big creator. She's taking advantage. She's smart. She's great. She's super intelligent, but that's another bucket. So that's what I think. If you don't like what I did, you can still comment and give me shit. I don't care. Trolls and haters built the internet. So do it. Hate on me. I like it. If you liked it, subscribe, like, share, send it to your friends. The many faces of the internet. Jimmy Donaldson, Bella Porch. We got many more we're going to deep dive into. If you have people you want me to look into specifically, let me know. I'd love to hear about it. Message me. You can DM me on the gram or comment here. If you have topics about MrBeast or Bella Porch that you didn't like, that you wanted to hear more of, let me know those. I can do a second episode, a follow-up. We can do touch-ups. Stay tuned. Be nice to people. The world needs more love.